Alright, quick discussion on a Chrysler Town & Country Touring 4-liter 2010 model. The problem that we had was that the passenger sliding door was not working at all automatically. You could hear the unlatch click, and that was all you could get. So the way to fix it through YouTube University was a power control module on the back side of the track. The easiest way to get to it is to disconnect, before you open the door, disconnect the body trim panel, and the way to get to that is there's 2 screws on that panel. That panel pops off. There's 1 screw behind that, and then you can get access to that panel, which then also pops out. And you have to undo these 3 screws on the bracket that goes to the door that are behind that panel. 2 you can see, 1 you cannot. They're 10 millimeters. Also, the 2 nuts right there and the torque screw. I forget the size. The 2 nuts there are also 10 millimeter. The 2 nuts don't necessarily have to come off, but the wiring harness does have to unsnap and unbolt. There's a little tab back there you pull down, and then you just take the wiring harness off. Then, before you start disconnecting the bottom of the door, you take off this trim piece, which snaps up and out, and then you also take off the A-pillar trim piece, and then disconnect the wiring harness that goes to the push button right there. That then allows you to pull up the carpet a little bit to get to the number of bolts that are just up underneath the trim panel and the carpet. But before you take those bolts out, you disconnect this wiring harness, which, like I said, goes back to the door, and it's that whole system there. And again, in 2010 they improved the wiring harness. So 2007, 8, and maybe 9, the wiring harness had a lot of problems and they actually recalled it. So 2010 actually had the new wiring harness installed. You disconnect that sensor there, pop out the wiring harness there, and then just hang it out. Also disconnect take off the weather stripping as well, because you need all of that room and that door bracket taken off in order to access the rail back here. And what you do is you pull the rail out from the rear, you slide it rearward. You also have to prop up the door because there's a good amount of weight that door is, and it's not really supported by the other 2 brackets up higher. And so you pull out the rear. There's another wiring harness to disconnect back there, which goes to the control module, and you slide it rearward. You pull out the front, and you just make sure the condition of the motor, as well as the cable that runs from the motor, is all good. There's no major binding or any major problems like that. Once there's power off the car, you can slide that motor cable forward and aft really easily. Once you plug that module back in, there's power back on the car, and the motor is totally locked. So that's a safety mechanism. Pop out the old module. It's right back there on the back side of the rail. Plug in the new module, put it all back together. Assembly is reverse of removal. And then all you got to do is make sure that you didn't, what we did was there's actually a safety bracket right there. We actually pinched the cable between the bracket and the body of the car. Totally locked everything up, didn't move at all, didn't even try to move. But once we freed all that up, we went ahead and closed the door manually, and then opened it automatically, and it opens and closes automatically, both with all 3, with the handle, the button, and then the overhead button as well. That's it. If you ever have a 2010 Town & Country or any similar Town & Country, probably up to including the Pacifica, it's a module. I think the list price is about $125. There's a $25 core charge. Once you pull out the old module and give it back to the dealership or wherever you purchase it from, you'll be able to get your money back. Have a great day.